welcome. So we are live, Digging Deeper, episode 7. I'm really excited. It has been almost 2 months. You guys have been so supportive, and I'm humbled and just super grateful to be part of this process. So today we have a really special episode. We will be talking about life as a creative entrepreneur. I really like that title. Before we get into it, I have with me my guest, Ashley Peacock.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, no problem. So if you could tell us a little bit about who you are. I would normally, instead of me giving the bio, I like to hand it over so that you can tell us about you, the way you perceive yourself.
Oh, thank you. I am a failed engineer. I was on a track to...
Good start.
I was on a track to have a career in physics or engineering. I was doing a lot of work with Kettering University, which was at the time known as GMI in Flint.
Okay.
And I was in some high school game that required us to sing.
Okay.
And I was ratted out by one of the kids in choir to the choir teacher. Hey, this kid can sing. So the choir teacher came and yanked me out of a history class after that and forced me to audition. And thought it would be an easy A, so I took the choir class and just fell head over heels in love with music and continued on a course of study, and then dropped out of a music program in college because I knew I wanted to be a touring singer-songwriter, and then I hit the road and moved to Cincinnati and pursued a full-time career in music.
Wait, so you started in Flint?
I
You're
was
originally
born and raised in Flint,
okay.
And then moved to Cincinnati for about 12 years.
Oh, that's
raised
wild.
a family, and retired from music for a while, for about 6 years, and came back to it as a producer, and then moved back to Flint in late 2013, early 2014 to do full-time development work.
What got you back into it?
When I lived in the Cincinnati area, and while I was retired, a friend of mine from Flint, a musician named Todd Gilbert, called me up one day and said, "I'm going to come down and stay with you, and we're going to write some songs." I said, "Man, I don't do that anymore." He said, "I don't think you heard me. I'm gonna come down and stay with you and write some songs." So we wrote 8 songs in 6 days.
He knew. He already knew.
He pulled it out of me. But the really important thing about that was, even before I retired, I only wrote a couple songs a year, because there was this the common fear that a lot of songwriters have, that the self-editor.
Yeah.
You know, we have this fear of how it's going to be received, or the song isn't a hit, or it's not coming out right, it's garbage, so I'm not going to finish it.
Yeah.
And we have this kind of creative abortion, I call it. Well, when Todd came down to write with me,
I like the term.
we established some rules. Everything gets to live. No matter what comes out, it gets a chance at life. So regardless of genre, regardless of quality, everything that comes to us, everything that occurs to us, gets to breathe.
Interesting.
And what was interesting is just freeing us up in that way brought out more quality work.
Yeah, I'm sure.
We were able to practice trusting ourselves.
That's got to be a tough process to go through, though, because, you know, many times you might have something and you don't want to let go of it because it's not perfect, or it's not exactly what you want it to sound like.
For sure.
But it's that letting go.
You know, it's something that I coach now, because now as a writer, I'll write a song a week without blinking, and I don't need to wait for the muse to strike.
Yeah.
I don't need the right conditions to write a song. I don't have to write with a co-writer. I just write, because that experience, the retirement, and then coming back to it with my friend Todd, taught me that I'm a writer. And what do writers do? We write. And I think of it like a river. It's constantly flowing. All you have to do is dip a cup in and see what's there. And it's different water every time. I don't know what songs are going to come out, but I know that a song will come out, because there's always water flowing.
I like that a lot. I like that a lot. There was a talk or something that we went to a couple of weeks ago where we were talking about how we are all rivers.
Yeah.
It's just about tapping into that flow. So that imagery is really beautiful.
Where was that?
That was at the farm, I think. Yeah. So now you're writing pretty frequently then?
I write often, but it's not for my own interest as an artist. I really don't emphasize my artistic career anymore, and I've got a couple albums in the works, and they will fall from the tree when they're ripe. But my energy right now is in supporting other artists, and a lot of that energy is spent co-writing with them to make sure that their songs are as strong as possible, but moreover that they are as strong as possible as creative individuals. So my writing with them isn't just to make great songs, it's to make them great writers.
Yeah. Do you work with artists individually then?
Oh, for sure, yeah.
That's pretty cool. And then you also have a studio.
I do. The studio isn't open for commercial recording. We just have it as a project studio to do development work with the artists that we're developing.
Got it. That is pretty cool. So welcome everyone. We have a bunch of people.
Hey guys.
And Reem said you're loving these metaphors. I always love metaphors. That's part of being artistic. So what does it mean? So you picked the title for today. What does it mean to be a creative entrepreneur?
Someone who activates functionally out of their place of creativity. Because what I see so often is a creative individual be paralyzed because they don't know how to function in the world that has certain constructs and certain systems that present us with expectations of how to be functional. So a lot of my work is in marrying the creative mindset with the entrepreneurial mindset. And it really goes back to worth. As a creative individual, you are allowed to be in the room that you're in. You're allowed to have a voice. So let's teach you the language that honors your personality as a creative individual, but also gets you heard by people that might not speak like your native language.
How exactly do you do that?
It really depends on the creative individual and what their objectives are and what their challenges are. It might be as simple as having them create a business plan, or functioning better financially, or communicating in settings with people who aren't from their specific background. But a lot of it is mindset work. It's not just practicals and executables. It's not just saying, hey, you know, you're a songwriter, so you need to affiliate with the performing rights organization. A lot of it is freeing them from these unhealthy beliefs that they've been raised with, that they don't have permission to actually function as a creative individual in the world, as a creative professional in the world. You're a hobbyist, or don't quit your day job, or there's something that I see, and particularly in Flint, Michigan. Maybe that's a hand-me-down of the blue-collar mentality, but people don't believe that they have permission to be full-time professional musicians. And I can talk all day long about, you know, how to set up a DBA, or how to copyright your songs, or how to promote an album, but if you don't believe that this is a viable job, game over.
I think it's really hard to change that mindset too. I think for me personally, I mean, I have a day job and I'm doing music, and part of the struggle for me now, having done our first album and looking at it through the business perspective, is you want to sell, you want to do well, you want to make money off of this, and at the same time you don't want to come off as, you know, really needy, or like, come on guys, buy this, or look at this, or check this out. But at the same time, it is about worth, because you know, you have to believe that what is in you and what you're offering is something that's truly beautiful, something that's genuine and authentic. And you care to express it, and you care to share it with other people.
I had a conversation with an artist in turmoil one time, and I asked what I call the golden question. What do you want? What do you want? What do you want to do? It's the question that all industry asks too. And he said, "Well, I want to be on stage in front of a lot of people, but I don't know, man. I don't want the attention. The money's not really important to me. I kind of want to." And he began to explain away his desires. I said, hold up. Somewhere in your life you've been taught that money and attention are bad. That money equals greed, that attention equals arrogance. Money is neutral. Attention is neutral. They're just magnifiers. They magnify whatever you bring to them. So if you have something that is impactful, if you have worth as an artist, if you have something that's going to change lives, if you have something that needs to be heard, that's the first thing I want to throw money and attention at. Isn't that something that you'd want to be magnified? Yeah. So step on stage.
It's still such a hard balance.
It is.
It's like, okay, I want to be humble, or I don't want to come off like I'm attention hungry, you know? But at the same time, I do want to share, and I want to post. And I feel the same way similarly with, you know, running this show, doing Digging Deeper. And I'm on Facebook, and I was talking to a friend of mine, and I was like, do you think it's weird if I just tag hella people on all my posts? And because I felt like I don't want people to feel like I'm using them, or I'm using the friendship that we have, or I'm using this. But at the same time, I care about those people, and I want to share that with them. And it is a mindset thing for sure.
You know, I think whether or not somebody feels used is maybe ultimately up to them, but we do have control over the voicing and how we steward our relationships. And I think it just goes back to motivations. What's your motivation? Do you see people as objects? Are you that person that only hits somebody up when you want something?
Yeah, true.
Because we are an organism. We're in this together, and relationships matter.
Yeah.
I always think about how I can add value to somebody else. Even if I want something from them, like, look, your brand's good for me.
Yeah.
I want to be involved with what you're doing. I want to be partnered with you.
Yeah.
The first question I ask isn't, dude, how can I get on your train? It's, how can I put coal in your engine? How can I add value to you?
Yeah.
And it's not transactional. It's truly, hey, you know what? A rising tide raises all ships.
Yeah.
If I help you be successful, it's not just about you returning a favor. It's about this entire community growing and evolving together.
And I think that's how you build communities, because you're in this together. And you say, you've got something and I've got something. Let's work together. Let's bring each other up. Let's pull each other up.
It's nature. It's cross-pollination.
We've got a comment here. And you guys, this is live, so if you want to have, you know, comments, questions, anything,
AMA.
You can do that. Well said. Do you see people as objects? Relationships matter. Now I can add value to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The thing we have to understand is that we're important, but where's the line of self-absorption get crossed?
Yeah.
You know, if you become self-focused, people will let you know. People will distance themselves from you. And it's going to be a cancer for your craft. And I've seen it happen over and over. It's a form of self-sabotage, and sometimes it can be so well-intentioned.
Yeah.
You know?
That's so true, though. I think that people can tell, and we ourselves can tell with other people, too, whether it's coming from a place that's genuine, or is it coming from a place that's crossing the line and now it's becoming a little bit arrogant, where it shouldn't be.
And I'm not immune to that. So I realized that as a human being, I'm susceptible to the traps of any human being. So I try to sabotage that in myself. And one of the ways I do that is surrounding myself with people who tell me the truth. I don't surround myself with yes men. Actually, my closest partner is the first person to say, hey, you are not thinking correctly about this. Consider another way.
What advice would you give to someone who is advice for dealing with constructive criticism?
Oh, you can't.
Or how to use it.
How to use it?
How to use it, how to approach it.
Well, one, you view it as useful.
Yeah.
From the get-go. Yeah. Even if somebody comes, are we allowed to cuss on the show?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm trying.
there's no formality here.
Even if somebody comes up to you and says, you're a piece of shit and nothing you do is good, you sit with that and create a gap of response. So I always try to transform reactions into responses. And you say, you know what, I'm gonna sit with that. I'm gonna sit with the words. I'm gonna sit with the motivation. What I feel is the genesis of that perspective. Yeah. And then I'm gonna look inside myself and say, what's my baseline? Is that actually true? And to what degree do I identify with it?
Yeah.
So if I say, man, you know what, that was really cold, but I know why they said that, and that's something I can work on.
Yeah.
Or you know what, that's not helpful, and it's not true. So I gotta let it go past me.
That's actually it. It links back to one of the episodes we did a couple weeks ago about meditation, because part of meditation is sitting with a feeling, is sitting with, words or whatever it may be, accepting it, just marinating in it for a little bit, and then having a reaction that's more thoughtful.
Absolutely, it starts with observing.
Yeah.
What's in front of you, because so often we lead with our emotions, and they create the identity based on our emotional responses to stimulus. And emotions are so valuable, but when you overemphasize them, they can cause a lot of destruction. So when you sit with something and observe it, then you can use your emotions to inform a response rather than lead a response.
Yeah. And I think that's so important. People, I feel, especially as a woman growing up in this society, we're always taught that don't be emotional and that's a negative thing. But having emotional intelligence and being in tune with one's feelings and why you feel a certain way is extremely important.
Absolutely.
And especially as an entrepreneur, for making decisions. What am I going to be engaged in? What am I not going to be engaged in? Do you feel like your emotions play a part in that?
Absolutely. You have to decide what's a fit for you.
Yeah.
And you have to decide what is true to you, how to spend your time, and decisiveness has to come out of self-awareness.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I've had to cultivate is putting my emotions in the right place as a creative first and an entrepreneur second, because I was not born with a business mind.
Yeah.
But as a creative first, that door of emotion opens so wide, and it slams shut so violently. So you have to know that about yourself, and leverage it rather than be enslaved to it, because emotions can rule you if you don't understand how helpful they can be for you and put them in the proper place. So one of the things I help coach creatives on is how to honor the emotional side of themselves without being ruled by them.
How do you do that?
You have to start with just observing it, to know that that's a part of you that shouldn't be buried, because it will come out sideways. And a lot of times people, like you said, people are taught that's bad.
Yeah.
Don't be so emotional. It's why we make such beautiful art, because we see the world in ways that are so deep and so intense. We feel everything.
Yeah.
And that's
so deeply.
Right. And that's part of what makes us a product. We want to commoditize the over emotionality of an artist.
Yeah.
And then wonder why they crumble under the pressure of trying to function in the industry. So a lot of my work is in stabilizing the worth of the artist and making sure that they're emotionally healthy, so that they can continue to be sustainably authentic over the course of actually navigating a professional career in a really tough business.
That's so important, because at least my experience has been most people who are artists don't start off, as business people or entrepreneurs. You start off as a person who is creating whatever art form. And it is really hard to navigate, that the business side of it, and how do I maintain emotional stability? How do I continue to be myself and not be constantly thinking about how to cater to someone else or how to cater to an audience.
Mm-hmm. It is death when you farm out your worth, when you farm out your identity. And we're told so early that these expectations will form who you are. This track will form who you are. Your family forms who you are.
Yeah.
And we're taught that our desires are taboo from day one.
Yeah.
I was studying under this vocal instructor, and their observation about the shift that happens when a child enters a formal education environment is so traumatic, because we're born screaming for what we want, vocalizing, because we're tired, because we're hungry. And the second we sit down at a desk in a classroom, we're said, shut up. And if you want something, here's the proper way to ask for it. And you have to be quiet first and be orderly. And these are the terms of how you get to live your life. So,
and these are the things you should want. And these are things you shouldn't want.
And the emotion is shut down suddenly and decisively.
That is so true. That is so true. What are some of the ways then you teach or work with different artists to be able to manage that and to navigate, having a certain desire or wanting to create something, right? We were just sitting and talking to an artist yesterday about how he wanted to create, he had an album and he had maybe 10 songs, and all of them were vastly different, like just extremely different genres or different styles, and that was who he was. But people in the business industry say, okay, you should stick to one form, you should stick to this type of music, or you should, try to make your songs a little bit more coherent and similar to each other. But it's like, this is what I was feeling and this is what came out.
My favorite question to ask in that situation is, says who? That's my answer to the paralysis of perfectionism, because who decides what's perfect?
Yeah.
And I love the analogy of the coloring contest. From childhood, we're given these sheets of paper with black lines on them. Maybe it's Donald Duck or whatever, and you have to color them. And then you're judged on how well you color them. And I think it was Victor Wooten that said, well, hold up, who made the lines?
Yeah.
Who decided how you get to express yourself, and how good it is? How perfect something is? Says who? Yeah. What you have to say is inherently valuable because of who you are. There's nobody like you. There's a 400 billion to 1 chance that the molecules of the universe even created you. I don't care who you are. What you have to say matters.
Yeah.
And you can say something like nobody else can, because you can experience life like nobody else can. That's valuable. That said, there are better ways of communicating than others. We have language for a reason. Yeah. And it's not to say that it's black and white. Like you have to say whatever you want to say like this. Yes, what you have to say is valuable, but you have to say it like this. I'm not saying that, but there is this sharing of experience that helps us communicate more and more effectively, and that is the beautiful mess of art. Because we decide that in the moment. Yeah. There's no right or wrong.
Yeah. You decide that in the moment, and maybe a few days later, a few years later, you decide, I want to change it.
That's the river.
Yeah, that's so true. I love that metaphor.
Okay, I say that you're standing in front of the Flint River, right?
Oh boy.
And it's always the Flint River.
Yeah.
It's been the Flint River since I was a kid growing up in Flint. But it's not the same water, ever. And that's us.
And we ourselves are never the same water either. And our cells are constantly regenerating. That metaphor, I feel like, you can take it so many ways.
Oh yeah. I was talking with my friend and business partner earlier today about how different we are year to year and decade to decade. I said, I don't even know if I would like me 15 years ago. Because same river, but that was much murkier water.
Yeah, I don't even want to. I'm good right now. I can't wait for the future.
Yeah.
Because as time goes by, you're like, I don't know, I learn something new every single day. I don't know what I'm going to learn that's going to change me drastically in the next year, or even the next couple of months, or less than that. We've got a couple of comments.
Got some questions coming in.
Let's see. Reem said, I'm feeling bad as a parent right now. Why? Because you're watching this. You're taking care of yourself, okay? She has a newborn who's only 2 months.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah. You said profoundly honor the emotions and not be ruled by them. Can you give advice on how to control certain emotions like anger?
I think it's case by case, and I'm not a therapist, but I've known anger to be a secondary emotion. So when you look at patterns, when you look at unhealthy responses like anger, like outbursts, the temptation is to stop there and just deconstruct the pattern and try not to get angry again, but not look at what's behind it. So what's behind the anger? Is it fear? It's often fear of something that is then often rooted in some kind of childhood trauma or belief that you let in childhood because something happened to you that caused you to create this mindset of fear that manifests as anger. So I mean that's honestly between you and your therapist about what coping mechanisms to use and what journey you need to take to dig deeper. But I dig deeper. There you go. Yes, meta. So I mean, my advice to you would be the same as to an artist. Let's sit down and talk about this. And first, be nice to yourself. Forgive yourself. You're human doing the best that you can with what you have. And let's look at ways to do better. And that's going to involve some emotional excavation.
Yeah.
The microphone in my studio is just a conduit to the heart. Because it's really a mirror. When you sing in front of the microphone, you go to those places of fear, and there are so many tears on the rug in my studio because when you're in front of a microphone, that's when the dad issues come out. That's when the voices of negativity come out, and they say, "You're not good enough to be doing this.
Yeah.
You don't belong here."
Just constantly questioning yourself. I don't think I sound good enough. I don't think I need to perfect my voice more. I need to perfect my craft more. Like funny. Which is, I mean, it's not a bad thing to think those things. Like, I think you should always want to perfect your craft. You should always want to grow and develop as an artist. But balancing those negative feelings, those fears that you might have, or those frustrations you might have at the same time. It's a balance.
It's all part of your story. And I got laid open about a year ago. I was in New York City studying with a vocal instructor who just devastated me. We were vocalizing together, and she said, "Hold on, fuck what it sounds like." So wait a minute, you're my voice instructor, and you just said, "Fuck what it sounds like."
Yeah.
She said, "Yeah, you've become far too accustomed to managing your sound. You're used to it sounding pretty. I don't care what it sounds like. I care where it comes from.
Wow.
You're singing from your diaphragm. You need to be singing from your pelvic floor."
Wow. Ain't that something?
It leveled me.
There was an opera singer that I met. She was from Montreal, and she was visiting for some time. And I was just asking her for some vocal advice, and because she has students as well. And she said, singing is all about grounding yourself. She's like, you stand up, you bend down a little bit, you ground yourself to the earth, and then you let it come out of your pelvis and let it come up from there. It's not for it's got to be deep. But it's interesting too, because it just reminds me of the concept of grounding in general, taking from the earth as well, which is a whole other can of worms.
The power comes from the deep. Think about the water. The power isn't in the wave; it's in the current.
Yeah. So true. We have more people. Bismillah Haq said, "Wow." Khadija just joined. One of my students just joined.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Ask us some questions.
Yeah, so if you have any questions or anything, please feel free. You touched a little bit on perfectionism.
Yeah.
And I was hoping you would dig a little bit deeper on that. I know you posted once on Facebook about it because you did a session with some students. Yeah. And I was curious about how that went.
It's a disease in the artistic world. how do you know when something's done? And I think, was it Keith Richards, maybe the one that said, a song is never finished, it's abandoned. And you have to decide when you've said what you need to say through the work and let the rest of the river go on by without drinking from it. Because you can get into a position of artistic plastic surgery.
Yeah.
When you chase the perfect song, for instance, the idea of perfect changes as you chase it. You never catch it. You never catch it. But you can come to a place where you feel it. When you're exchanging energy with a mix and you're like, wow, there's nothing I would change about this. This is feeling really good. And then you walk the fuck away. Yeah. Because tomorrow you will find something that you want to change. Tomorrow you'll be like, oh, that snare tone in the car is not
that was me as we were listening to our album. I would just find things, and at some point Ismail was like, you need to stop. He was like, please just leave it. I was like, but this one note like should have been, and he was like, you just leave it. And one of the things that's really beautiful, and I think that Ismail is always grounding me with this, is accepting the beauty of what came out in a given moment. So what words came out, what notes came out, what harmonies came out in a given moment. And respecting that it came from that moment and it was for that moment and there was nothing wrong with it.
That's authenticity.
Yeah.
And that is what connects artist intention and listener experience. I'm obsessed with this right now. And I think it can change the landscape of the music industry. Because why do we have music in the first place? Music is something that makes people feel understood. It makes them feel seen. It makes them feel heard. When you're having a bad day and you have the headphones on, you hear that song that makes you feel like you matter, and it's a stranger singing to you.
Yeah.
That's powerful. Music saves lives. And I think that the more you thin the veil between artist intention and listener experience, the more powerful music becomes. And then the more the industry needs to serve the authenticity and the power of music rather than the commoditization of creative individuals.
Yeah. Reem said, totally agree about the moment idea. I'm guessing she's going to continue the comment. That's exactly how I am about my poems.
Authenticity. I will take an artist that is true over an artist that is good any day. I no longer am impressed by what's good. You better be good. That's the price of admission. You better be good to walk in the door. But if you're true, that takes bravery.
Ain't that the truth? That takes a lot of bravery because you're putting yourself out there. And you're putting not only yourself, but you are saying that I am going to cut myself open, I'm going to expose myself, I'm going to share my story, and I'm going to let it out with this fear that I might be rejected, with this fear that you may judge me, with this fear that you may not like me, with this fear that you may perceive me to be something that I'm not. But I'm going to share it anyways because maybe there'll be some beautiful connection. Maybe something good will happen from this.
Yes. I think that rejection or the fear of rejection is another thing that paralyzes an artist. And perfection is well acquainted with that. It's just another branch on the same tree. And I honestly think that tree is death. It is the fear of not existing. Rejection is a sliver of death. Perfectionism is a sliver of death, or the chasing of perfection. The whole landscape of failure is a form of certainty worship. It's avoiding death. So my advice to artists: be well acquainted with failure. Know it and embrace it as part of success. Failure has been my greatest educator. Like I said, I began my musical career as a failed engineer, and I'm twice divorced. I've been in a mental institution. I have seen failure. I've seen the depths of myself, and it's taught me so many valuable lessons that I use and weave into my success. I would not be successful without my failure. I wouldn't be able to inhale without my exhale. I wouldn't be alive without coming from death. And I wouldn't be as alive without the knowledge that I will return to death and that every one of my numbered breaths makes me breathe deeper. Knowing that there's going to be a final breath. When you wake up knowing that I'm going to die, I'm going to die. I don't know how or when, but I'd like to live before that happens.
Yeah. That duality is in everything. We've got some comments. Let's see. Man, I gotta think. This is what happens when we dig deeper.
Dig deeper.
We dig deeper, and then we're like, wait a second. I gotta sit on this for a little bit. We have dreams and things we love, but what inspires you to actually do what you love? And then deep. ...
Who else is going to do it? Who else? I can't do what you love. Ismail can't do what you love. Tazeen can't do what you love. People that aren't you, that job is taken. We need you. If you love it, give yourself permission to give it life. Let it exist. Because only you can. That's how fragile this is. That's how fragile art is. Only you can make your art. Sorry. You got work to do.
If you're not doing it, then...
And you're going to die. So do it with both hands.
That's a really beautiful way of looking at it, too, though. And that failure is a part of success, just like death is a part of life.
There was this analogy that my friend gave me. He was in the Army, and they made him plan his funeral before he went overseas.
Wow.
Before he deployed, he had to sit down with his family. But it wasn't just for administrative cleanliness. It wasn't just to remove the burden of planning his funeral after he died. It was psychological. It was highly manipulative on the part of the military, but it was really effective. Because when you go into battle already dead, you're already in the ground, you don't fear death. You rush the hill harder. That's an extreme example.
Yeah.
But what if we did that every day? What if we did that with our job? What if we did that with our art? What if we did that with our families?
We would be much better artists and much better...
Be in the moment.
Yeah, partners, parents, children.
When a musician doesn't play beneath their ability, when they feel the need to play as much as possible, they feel the need to prove something usually. Why do they do that? Because they're afraid of the space. Because what is the space? The space is death. The space is them not existing. And they're afraid to not exist. So you show me a musician who plays beneath their ability and understands the use of space, they've been acquainted with death in some way. And they're friends with it.
They're friends with it. They're not afraid of it. Welcome back, Meg.
It's like Mr. Rogers. Hey, Mike. Just talking about death.
Just no big deal.
NBD.
Wow. Yeah, that's very deep. We've got more people. If you have any questions or anything, please feel free.
Hi, guys.
That's a beautiful way to approach one's art. Because then at that point, it's not about it being perfect. It's about what is it that I want to do, and am I doing it?
A question that I often ask artists is, what can you do that no one else can do? And it's a question that people are afraid to ask because it's arrogant, right?
Yeah.
Well, I guess I can do some things, but there's somebody that can do it better. Nope. Only you can make your art. What is that, though? What can you do that nobody else can do? Then you begin to form objectives around getting rid of everything that's not that. I think of a lot of life subtractively, and to put it in musical terms, if you think of equalization, you have a piano recorded, for instance, and when you find the pieces of the piano's tonality that really resonate with you, you want to boost them, right?
Yeah.
You want to add to it. I want to be a better musician, so I take a class. I need this certification. I need this to add this thing to my experience to prove something about this thing that I love to do with my life. No. Just get rid of everything that's not you. Otherwise, you'll add noise. Because when I boost the frequencies of a piano, I'm going to add noise. What if I just take away things that aren't the piano? All that's left is the piano. It's pruning.
Because you're getting to the essence by subtracting everything else. Christina's on. Hi, Christina. Someone said, you're truly inspirational.
Ah, you guys.
Less is more. Less is
Oh,
more.
hey Todd. What's up, buddy? Give us some questions, dude.
I said bonjour.
Less
is more.
Man, when you just get down to what is, that's when you meet yourself through art. And it goes back to authenticity. When you stop trying to prove something.
Yeah. I guess one of the things that I've noticed is artists who, I'm not that into it, but everyone, whatever floats your boat, that are really into creating beats or taking something like a guitar riff and then putting it on GarageBand and then adding and putting more stuff. And then you might have a song and you say, okay, I want to add more to this production. And I feel like that might have its place, but for me personally, I feel like I'd rather just focus on a few things coming together.
100%. I was obsessed with the idea of adding this rhythmic pattern to a song that we were doing for an artist recently, and I was hearing it in my head as, banging on HVAC and running it through a bunch of filters and having it be this really cool thing. And I wrestled with this for a couple of days, auditioning different tonalities with this rhythmic pattern, and actually Todd was the one who sat down with it. And he's like, it's competing with the kick and snare. I don't care how cool the idea is. You're trying to add something that is going to end up taking away from the song, because you're not enhancing the experience by adding when it's boom ta boom ta boom boom ta. Just let it be boom ta. That's where the power is. The power was in the simplicity, and it often is.
It is. For great songs, I feel like that's what it is. The power of simplicity. And I think that simplicity not only in one's creative endeavors, but simplicity in one's life as well. How many things do you have? I feel like sometimes if I have too much, it makes me anxious and then I can't produce.
For sure. For sure. Feeling overwhelmed is also a type of paralysis. And what I see often in artists is we feel inherently obligated to things that overwhelm us. We're overcommitters, we're people pleasers, and we shy away from boundaries because that's arrogant. We're supposed to be servants, right? We're supposed to accommodate the world because we are already oversensitive to it.
Yeah.
And I had a conversation with an artist yesterday who said, man, I'm tired of getting stiffed on gigs. And this guy played saxophone for Aretha Franklin. He's getting stiffed on gigs in his hometown. I said, lessening your exposure to being wounded doesn't mean lessening your kindness. You can still be the nice guy, and you can still say no. You can say no with a smile on your face.
Yeah. That's so important. Because I think that also goes back to knowing your worth.
100%.
Right.
100%. And here's the secret. That's the word. That's the word for me and my where it's worth. It all goes back to that. And that comes from things that I learned about myself. Years and years and years of having compromised worth.
Yeah.
And having unhealthy behavior patterns that came out of that. Well, I spent years chasing the patterns. But that just enslaved me to the terms of the patterns. I needed to go deeper and find out what was causing the patterns. And it was in childhood, and it was something that informed my worth in an unhealthy way. It all goes back to worth.
That's why I think therapy is so important. Get to know yourself. Get to know the ins and outs of you and what you need to thrive. And don't shy away from it.
My therapist is awesome. She's young. She's fresh out of school. She's hip to all like the new DBT stuff. Like it's great. Find yourself a good therapist and a good producer. You'll be set.
Basically. And if you can't get one, at least a really good friend. Someone who you can talk to. We've got a couple of things here. Simplicity is sometimes key. And then I think this is your friend. What would you say to artists who are afraid to take risks that break from the norm, that are more afraid of how the general public will receive instead of just honoring the art in themselves?
I would say a lot. I would say you're going to die.
Going back to that.
You're going to die. So knowing that the worst is already going to happen to you, how bad is it going to be if somebody doesn't like your song? It puts it into perspective for me. When you are in the same room with your mortality and you walk out of that room breathing, you don't give a shit whether somebody likes your song. And in fact, you double down on how necessary that song is to write in the first place. Yeah. And I'm not saying you become impervious to criticism, but you weather the storm a lot better.
I would also add to that find authentic spaces to share in. Because what I have found is, yes, we have this fear, and we shouldn't feed that fear of whether or not someone is going to like it. But at the same time, if you find an authentic space, like an open mic space, or a friend, or a circle of artists, or like how you're working with artists, if you find a space where you can be authentic and people receiving it are coming to that space because they want to listen to authentic music or authentic art, I feel like at that point you will have someone who will appreciate it. And not that you should do it for the appreciation, but I think there is something to say about the exchange that happens between an artist and the listener, and when that's a positive exchange, what it does for both the artist and the listener.
Absolutely. I think there's something to be said for going where there's fertile ground of support. And finding ways that are your ways. You're going to have to find them as they work for you, but finding ways to practice self-trust. Maybe that's a writing retreat. Maybe that's a couple friends that you run ideas by. But be kind to yourself. Yeah. Don't get in an echo chamber of yes men who just love the shit out of everything that you do. But also, maybe don't step headfirst into a freestyle rap battle either.
Take the right steps.
Take the right steps to begin practicing self-trust, because all this is embracing uncertainty. You can't predict tomorrow. You can't predict whether you're going to wake up tomorrow. You can't predict how your song's going to be received. It's all uncertain, 100% uncertain. And fear is just trying to predict the future. Fear is worship of certainty. Fear is investing in things that don't exist. Yeah. And embracing uncertainty means just trusting yourself. Walking into a room and believing that you belong there, even though you don't know what the fuck's going on. Yeah. I was at a networking event on Tuesday in Detroit, and we were in the back mingling, talking, and somebody was on stage speaking. and it was the Lift Lounge at Music Town. And Kathy Vargo, one of my friends who does a lot of marketing work in Detroit, came over to us and said, "Guys, we're trying to keep it down while Tim's speaking on stage." I didn't know who Tim was, but I knew that Kathy told me to shut the fuck up. So that means Tim had something worth hearing. So not only did I stop talking, I went up to the front and listened to what he had to say. And he was taking questions. So he's got one more question he's going to take. He's damn sure going to take mine. So my hand goes up in the air. I don't know what I'm going to say. I don't know who he is, so I don't know what to ask. But I know that if he's taking a question and somebody who I respect said he's the guy to listen to, he's going to take my question. So between where I stood and the 14 feet away that the microphone was, a question came to me because I trusted myself. I said, I don't know what's going to happen. This is completely uncertain. But I know I belong in this room. And I trust myself enough to embrace the uncertainty, and a question will come to me when I need it.
And knowing that you're in a space for a reason. Like, part of being a creative is that you are constantly creating. We were talking about this a couple episodes ago, that we are constantly in this creative process. But then there's also another creative process of your life and your journey. You're sort of on this journey. Your life is unfolding as a creative process, and you yourself are creating within that creative process. And that's a lot of uncertainty, but you have to let go so that you can allow yourself to experience those beautiful moments. Because without that, you might not have experienced those.
I love the way you put that. I love life as a work of art. Because where does it all start? It starts in our thought life. And our thoughts are the genesis of our choices. And it bleeds into everything. Everything is a work of art. So the clothes that you choose to wear, that's an artistic expression. The way that you choose to interact with people, the spaces that you dwell in. And everything is a tapestry that is born in the thought life. And what you choose to identify with in your thought life manifests itself in your practical life.
Oh yeah, it absolutely does. Let's take a couple more comments. Indeed, Todd said yes. Fear should push you forward. Both answers were beautifully said. I agree completely. Fear should push you forward.
That's interesting. I guess maybe I see fear differently, and I don't want to assume what they're talking about, but that kind of hungry dog chasing you, making you want to run faster. I get that, and that's not really what I'm talking about by reminding people that they're going to die. It doesn't make things more frenetic, more anxious, and more energized out of the paranoia of being chased by something dangerous, but it makes the things that are in front of me more precious while I have them. I appreciate them more. I embrace them more. I care for them more. And man, that bleeds into how I eat. You know, I don't want to eat a Big Mac because I could eat something that somebody actually cared about, that was responsibly sourced. That's a work of art on a plate. So my fear of death isn't like I said, this thing that's chasing me down, so I got to live harder. It's gonna happen, and I want to fully embrace what is in front of me, and honestly, there's peace in that. So like it doesn't make me charge the hill so much as go, holy shit, this is beautiful. I'm gonna really enjoy this.
I would even say the opposite way of fear. If you feel fear, if you're fearing something, or if you feel anxious, or if you feel upset, I think that is just a window into something deeper, and it could push you forward if you can stop and reflect and observe it and say, why am I feeling this way? what can I do with this?
For sure. Honestly, I run toward it anymore. If I fear something, I don't put it off. I actually have learned to kill my procrastination. If there's something that I'm afraid of, putting it off just increases the fear, because fear loves when your life is never actually lived.
This is what I need.
Fear loves when you don't actually make a decision, because once you make the decision, the cat's out of the bag. Fear has to alter its course.
Yeah.
And fear doesn't like to work. Fear likes to sit back and tell stories. It's really, really good at it.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Fear is whispering in your ear. You're holding the fucking pen. Fear doesn't actually exist.
Yeah.
It doesn't actually exist. So I want to run toward it and be like, why are you saying weird shit to me?
Yeah.
Let's figure out what's going on here and deconstruct this dialogue and look past it and be like, okay, you have something to teach me.
Yeah.
Like I'm not gonna let you tell me what to do, but because you're here, you have something to teach me. And I want to know what that is, so I run towards it.
I love that. We have, so those of you guys who watch regularly, an hour. We've already done an hour, which is really amazing. It's going to log us out because that's what it does in an hour. We will be back in 10 seconds. So log back in because Ashley's going to perform something for us.
Okay, love you, bye-bye.
Please make sit-down videos like this for many to benefit. That was for you. We'll be right back. Do you have any last-minute thoughts you want to share before we jump into performance part?
Know your worth. And find all of my artists on social media. I manage 3 artists that I could not be more proud of, and they're all releasing EPs this year.
Ooh, fun.
Nice.
Natalie Lucassian.
I've seen her. I've seen her on your feed.
Haunting? There was a song that you guys did together where you posted. Was
Restless?
that her? Restless.
That's her single, and she's done. The EP's done. She's gonna release that this year.
Nice.
And has a lot of exciting things to talk about. Jake MacArthur is almost done with his EP, and Billy Gunther is just beginning his EP. All Southeast Michigan artists.
Nice.
Can you just send me their information and I'll post it?
Yeah.
And so it'll be up on my Instagram, on my Facebook, on the website, on YouTube, anywhere you're watching this, you'll know.
Yay!
That's the fun thing about social media. Okay, well, we're going to move on. And Ash is going to perform something for us.
All right.
We got a guitar here.
Thank
You'd
you,
like
my
that?
friend.
I will move out the way.
The arm comes out of nowhere. Hands the guitar. I'm not sure if anything.
So this is a song that I had the most commercial success with, but took the least amount of time to write. It's one of those moments where I just thought of myself as a writer and dipped the cup in the river, and there it was. So this song materialized in under 20 minutes.
Nice.
Love took a walk around my heart, tried to find a place to start, but I wouldn't lie to you. And time is the best I have to show. It's the only way I know, but I'm still the man you made. I wanted us to start out, wanted us to start out, wanted just to stay. I wanted you to come down, wanted us to find a place to begin. And now I see the task at hand. All you ask is much too grand. I am happy just to say I wanted start out, wanted just to stay. I wanted you to come down, wanted us to find a place to begin, to find a place to begin, to find a place to begin. Sometimes I'm so much like you. Maybe that's why it took me this long to find just to stay. I wanted you to come down, wanted us to find a place to begin.
Woo!
Ring said, damn, holding those notes. Ring said.
Damn, holding them notes. That was beautiful.
Thanks.
That
Thank
was.
you so much for having me on your show. This was
Thank
fun.
you so much for being here. That was beautiful. Your voice is beautiful.
I was still up. I can't wait to hear. I can't wait to hear your record.
It's gonna be fun.
Yes.
But I really appreciate you taking the time out to come here
Truly my pleasure.
and share with us. You got some heart faces and
Hi guys.
yeah. So yeah, thank you so much for being here.
And you do this weekly, right?
Every week.
Everybody tune in every week.
Every week, guys.
Digging
So
deeper.
Digging Deeper every Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. We are in season 1 right now, almost done with 2 months. We're gonna run through till mid-May, and then we'll take a pause. So it'll be, we've got 12 people have been lined up. So you're
That's
the
so
7th
cool.
person.
Congratulations.
Thank
That's
you
awesome.
so much. And then season 2 will start in the summer. So I'm really excited. We've got a lot of things that are in the works, but it's been humbling, and it's been such a blessing talking to people from different walks of life who all care about life and care about one's well-being and care about art and each other and connection. So it's a beautiful thing.
It is. It's so important.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you. I will see you guys next Tuesday. The video will be up on my Instagram Live for 24 hours. I will also post it tomorrow to Facebook, YouTube, my website, all that stuff. So if you miss it, or if anyone missed it and you want to share it with them, you can feel free to do that. I will post all of the stuff about you, about Ashley, what you're doing, anything you want to share with them. Let me know, and I will post it for them to look up as well. All right?
Insta dig, insta deep.
Bye, guys. Good night.